Hosea comes from the Hebrew word Yasha, which means Savior. You've probably even heard maybe the word Yeshua, which is connected to the word Joshua. And actually, Hosea was Joshua's original name with Moses and Joshua. Joshua, the one that kind of took the mantle of Moses. When Moses first called him, he renamed him. His name was Hosea, son of Nun, and he changed his name to Yeshua. Now it's interesting because Yasha means Savior, or Hosea means Savior, but Yeshua contains the word Yahweh and Yasha. So it's almost like Yahshua way. Yahshua. So it's like Yahweh on the bookends and Yasha or Savior. God is salvation. That's what Yeshua means. So the Lord names this man. He gives him his father. Father is the fountain, the fresh water, and he says, and then here's what the seed is that comes from that. It is salvation. God names this man Hosea to speak of the need of salvation. Now, I know we hear about salvation a lot as Protestant believers, You may be even tired of it, and if you are, I understand to a certain extent. But isn't it interesting that in that context, so kind of jumping back to this idea of the history and what people are going through, that the Lord's idea about how to deal with it is not to send a man named, hey, why don't we have a man send you called Faithful? Or send you a man named Structure or Stand Strong, or get your man named Get Your Life Together, grow up. But he doesn't send a man named that. And he doesn't send a man to do a kind of military exercise, kind of a, straight, get the tie together, jacket on. No, he doesn't send this name to that situation. He sends the name salvation. Why? Why does he do that? Well, it's because the Lord realized that the people didn't really need a better role model or better leaders. He realized they didn't need people with stronger IQs or more technology-based jobs. They didn't need an exercise in debt management. They didn't need to know the 16 love languages of your neighbor. And I think if you read any books about how to improve your life or what needs to happen in a nation or a country at a particular time, there's all these kinds of ideas that are always floating out there, right? You listen to kind of whatever radio station, and they're like, what we really need at this time is we need more leaders. And it's like, really? Haven't we tried that? Don't we need more followers? Or we need people to be more responsible with their money. And it's like, well, that's always true, but is that really? And so the Lord puts His finger on it, and He says, you guys need a Savior. You need a Savior. Even for what we might look on it with our own perspective and say, that's a kind of a minor issue. The Lord was saying, no, this is the end game issue. And what did that salvation do when it came on the scene? When Hosea came, this was his act of saving. He married a prostitute. How's that for? Like if someone, so say our next president, whoever it will be, the first thing he does when he gets in office is like, you know what I need to do? I need to go marry a prostitute. And that may be actually a little bit loaded considering our current president. But you would never think of that being the plan, right? Like, what kind of plan is that? That's ludicrous, that's silly. And yet, that's exactly what the Lord commands him to do. Of all the crazy things, this is the thing that the God who made the universe, who formed your liver and your eyeballs, who made all those trees, and this is his thing, you know. I thought of it this week in this kind of context. There's this interesting movie series out called The Avengers. It's one of these kind of Marvel comic movies, you know, very much about like the world, and there's always something that's threatening the world, and these guys have to stop it. And I was thinking about it, like, okay, now there's all these heroic characters in this movie, like there's Thor, and there's this guy named Captain America, and Iron Man. You guys are rather interested in this, or maybe it's just me and Jake. And so imagine the next movie that comes out, right? It's about all these guys and these heroes who are saving the world. And they go up to Captain America and they go, "Hey, Captain, we know how to do it this time, so that it will never come unraveled again. We want you to go marry a harlot." Can you imagine the next movie coming out and that being the plan? It's ludicrous. And it's also exactly what's needed. Guys, when Jesus died on the cross, what did he do? He married himself to harlots. To us. Revelation chapter 19, verse 7 through 9. You can turn there or just read or listen. "Let us be glad and rejoice and give him glory, for the marriage of the Lamb has come." The marriage of the Lamb. "And his wife has made herself ready." That's us, the church. "And to her it was granted to be arrayed in fine linen, clean and bright. For the fine linen is what? The righteous acts of the saints. Then he said to me, 'Write, blessed are those who are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb.'" He decided the best thing for our situation would be to marry us in our fallen state. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 2. "For I am jealous for you with godly jealousy," Paul writes, "for I have betrothed you," speaking to the church, "I have betrothed you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ." You see what he's doing? All these pictures, he's talking about this beautiful bride, and yet we all know that we're not that. That we're not chaste, that we're not virgins, that we're not arrayed like he says we are. Because his big plan was the same thing he sent Hosea to do. He looked at every one of you in this room and everyone who would ever hear this message, and he said, I want to marry that one. The one with all the problems. The one who can't get their act together. The one who can't control his thinking. The one who can't control her heart. The one who gets in fights with people all the time and can't control their tongue. The one who can't walk straight for an hour. And his big plan is, I want to marry that one. That's the one. I want to marry that one. And that's God's salvation. He shows his unending love. He invites in the beginning, and then he tells us to come to the marriage. And I don't know about you, but have you ever felt kind of reluctant when Jesus has offered this amazing thing, kind of like it doesn't make sense? Like, why me? Why am I in this relationship? Why did you call me? What? And the truth of the matter is, he called you and he wanted you because you are a harlot. And because he knows his love is the solution for your harlotry. Let me say that again. He knows you're a harlot. And he also knows that his love His faithfulness is the only thing that will cure it.